Hello everyone, let's begin. So, this video will begin from cultural and educational rights. Please remember the articles that are being taught to you. Whatever is given in these articles, they form a basic and main provision of Indian Constitution. So, make sure that you learn them by heart. Just that you need to remember what all is given in what article, right? And we have done till article 28. Today we will start with article 29. So मेक श्योर कि आर्टिकल 28 तक जो भी दिया गया है वो आपको अच्छे से समझ में आया है और आप उसे याद कर लें. ठीक है. इफ़ यू कीप रिवाइजिंग द प्रीवियस थिंग देन ओनली इट इज़ मीनिंगफुल दैट यू प्रोसीड विद द अदर न्यू थिंग्स. सो रिमेंबर द ओल्ड थिंग्स को हटा कर आप नई चीज़ पढ़ रहे हैं, कोई फ़ायदा नहीं है. You need to revise it, you need to remember what you studied earlier. That will form the base of reading something new or proceeding. Okay, so article 29 says minority sections of citizens who have distinct language, script or culture, they have the right to conserve the same. It prohibits educational institutions maintained by the state or receiving aid out of state funds from denying admissions to any citizen on grounds of religion, race, caste, or language. Okay, so basically, now these two, Article 29 and Article 30, is for protection of interest of minorities. Okay, so Article 29 says that any minority section who has a distinct language, there are some tribal communities, or within a particular religion there are some minority sections of the society who have a different language from the rest of the group or rest of the society. Their cultures are a little bit different. So, and see, this is something unique and you have to conserve it. Okay, you have the right to conserve your culture, your tradition, your language. Doesn't matter if it is different from the rest part of society, but if you are practicing it, then you have the right to conserve it. Okay, that is ensured by Article 29 of Indian Constitution. It prohibits the educational institutions. This educational institution we did in previous video also, wherein no educational institution which is completely funded by the state government or the central government cannot discriminate or on the basis of religion. They cannot promote a certain religion. We did that, and that was in Article 25 to 28, right? Now Article 29 says that a particular educational institution which is funded by the state government, जहाँ पर state government या central government उन्हें certain percentage का government fund दे रही है, यहाँ पर अगर आप देखें तो completely या wholly maintained by the state नहीं लिखा है. ठीक है. That means see, funds can be on any ratio. In any ratio you can fund a particular institution. You can completely fund it, you can fund it to a 50% or 40% funds. 60% funds is from the central government and 40% is from the state government. So any ratio can be there. 60% is funded by the state government and 40% is maintained by the person who has built that institution or established that institution. So any ratio of funding can be done by two or more groups. So if there is a particular institution wherein maintained by the state means any percentage, and if you say that it is a part of state, a particular institution for being a part of state means that that particular institution is receiving 50% or more than 50% of its funds, of its financial help from the government. अगर कोई इंस्टीट्यूशन, जैसे अगर मैं मानूँ कि पर्टिकुलर ईयर में एक इंस्टीट्यूशन को चलाने के लिए 100 lakh rupees लगते हैं. दिस इज़ जस्ट अ हाइपोथेटिकल एग्जाम्पल. If I say that a particular group or a particular institution needs 100 rupees to maintain itself for 1 year, okay, this is just a hypothetical example, so don't take it so seriously. It is just to make things clear to you. And 50% of this it needs to maintain itself. 50% of it will be 50 rupees. So 50 rupees is provided by the state, that is by the government, and the rest of 50 rupees is paid by the person who established that institution. So now, since 50% of the funds of the financial help is done by the state, so this particular institution will come under state. ठीक है, 50% या 50% से ज़्यादा फंड्स अगर गवर्नमेंट देती है तो उस इंस्टीट्यूशन को स्टेट या गवर्नमेंट के अंडर माना जाता है. अगर 50 रुपीज़ से ज़्यादा भी स्टेट पे कर रहा है तब भी हम कहेंगे कि ये पर्टिकुलर इंस्टीट्यूशन स्टेट के अंडर है, क्योंकि मेजॉरिटी ऑफ फंड्स कौन दे रहा है? स्टेट. ठीक है, सो कीप दिस इन माइंड. किसी भी एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशन की फंडिंग जब गवर्नमेंट देता है, और जैसा कि मैंने पहले बोला था, गवर्नमेंट सबकी है, वो इक्वली फंड सबके लिए दे रही है, तो उस एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशन के किसी भी बंदे के पास ये अथॉरिटी नहीं है कि वो डिस्क्रिमिनेशन करे ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ कल्चर, रिलीजन, सेक्ट, लैंग्वेज. वैसे तो किसी भी एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशन में ऐसा कोई डिस्क्रिमिनेशन नहीं होना चाहिए, बट explicitly, since we are talking about interest of minorities, so explicitly it is mentioned in this article that any educational institution which is receiving funds from the government, from the state, it has no right, no authority to deny admission to a particular citizen, to a particular student, by doing discrimination on ground of religion, race, caste or language. You speak Hindi, this is a Marathi institution, you cannot get admission in it. You speak Bangla, this is a Maharashtra institution, you cannot get admission into it. So on the basis of language you cannot discriminate. Next is right to minorities to establish and administer educational institutions. Article 30, I think I told you this also, that for minority communities to promote their culture or to save their religion or practices, some institutions can be set up that has to take care of that minority community, and fund may be given or may not be given by the government, and also discrimination will not be done. यहाँ पर भी किसी भी प्रकार का डिस्क्रिमिनेशन नहीं होगा. इफ़ दिस पर्टिकुलर इंस्टीट्यूशन इज सेट अप फॉर हिंदू माइनॉरिटी, गवर्नमेंट इज पेइंग 50 रुपीज़ फॉर एग्जाम्पल, and this particular minority institution is related to a Muslim minority group, so government is paying 40 rupees. This type of discrimination will not be tolerated at any cost. So in this article it is also ensured that the state itself doesn't discriminate among various minority communities while providing them the funds. Okay, so remember this thing. Article 30 provides all minorities, whether based on religion or language, the right to establish and administer educational institutions of their choice. It prohibits state from discriminating educational institutions while granting them aid on grounds of religion or language. This is what I have told you. ना ही वो इंस्टीट्यूशन में फ़ंड देते समय डिस्क्रिमिनेट कर सकते हैं, और ना ही बाद में वो इंस्टीट्यूशन डिस्क्रिमिनेट कर सकती है टू एडमिट अ पर्टिकुलर स्टूडेंट. ठीक है, नेक्स्ट वी विल कम ऑन टू द टॉपिक राइट टू कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल रेमेडीज. रेमेडीज मीन्स अ सॉर्ट ऑफ हेल्प और सल्यूशन. रेमेडीज फॉर एनफोर्समेंट ऑफ फंडामेंटल राइट्स. नाउ दिस इज again writ jurisdiction that we had covered earlier only. Article 32 and Article 226 of Indian Constitution, through which Supreme Court and High Courts respectively can deal with the matters in which a person files a case if his or her fundamental right is violated due to an action of the other person. So if you are filing the petition directly to Supreme Court for enforcement of your fundamental right, because your fundamental right was denied or violated, and now you wanted to get it enforced in the efficient manner or in the manner in which it should, then you have to take Article 32. And if you are reporting or if you are filing the petition in High Court, any High Court of India, then that has to be done by virtue of Article 226 of Indian Constitution. Okay, and unlike cases of other matters where one has to exhaust remedies of lower courts, in matters of fundamental rights violation, one can approach the Supreme Court directly. Exhaust remedies of lower courts means in ordinary matters or in other matters you cannot directly file a petition in the Supreme Court. Okay, you have to first report to the district court, then you will go to High Court if you are not satisfied with the verdict, and then you can go to the Supreme Court if you are not satisfied with the verdict of High Court also. So you have to go step by step. You can't skip one or two steps and jump directly and file the case directly into the Supreme Court for other matters. But if your fundamental right is infringed or denied or violated, then you can directly approach the Supreme Court. So this is an exemption to the rule that you have to go step by step. Okay, because in fundamental right violation matter you can directly jump to the Supreme Court for your hearing of the matter. And if I say fundamental right being violated or denied, somebody has created a lot of litter in front of your house or in your neighborhood, because of which there are many mosquitoes or flies that are breeding over there, and it is creating an environment of fear of unhealthiness, because germs will spread and diseases will be there. So, and also a lot of foul smell is coming out of it, unpleasant smell. So now this is infringement of your right to life, because in right to life, right to live in a clean environment is also included, and your right to live in a clean environment is getting affected due to the litter in front of your house. Okay, so that can be one example of violation of fundamental right to live with dignity and right to life, basically, that is Article 21. Similarly, there can be more examples of this. Then public interest litigation, this is a very famous concept. In short, we say PIL. Now see, word itself suggests public interest, in the interest of the whole society in general when the case is filed. I guess we have also covered this PIL in the unit 1 of this book, Judiciary. Yes, this is also known as social action litigation. As I said, it is for the interest of whole society in general, so we can say social action. Article 32 allows for practice of PIL, which is a process by which letters written to Supreme Court or High Courts by public spirited persons or organizations alleging fundamental rights violations are converted into petitions. So PIL is also filed by Article 32 in Supreme Court or any High Court of India, and it is basically done by the reputed organizations of the society who work in the welfare of the whole society in general. Why I am saying reputed? Because see, if there is an NGO that is working for the welfare of a particular section of society, because that NGO is thinking about the society, and if they see that such or such fundamental right of the people are violated, then they will file a matter in the Supreme Court. A letter is written, a matter is filed, and through that letter it gets converted into PIL, because now it is for the whole public, it is in the interest of the whole public, so it gets converted into PIL, that is public interest litigation. Litigation means a matter or filing something. As I told you the example of, if there is some we have women issues related NGOs also. Many NGOs are there which target a particular section of society or a particular problem of society, and they work in that field. So if they are writing a letter, it happens many a times, if you are aware of your nearby or recent things that are going on, then you may know that PILs are filed for various things. If there is much noise pollution, then PIL is framed by an NGO or by some institutions, reputed institutions who work for the welfare of a particular section of society, or regarding to solve a particular problem which many people are facing. So that happens. If it is against the noise pollution or air pollution, in Delhi there is a lot of air pollution during Diwali, and in winter season there is smog and fog, right? So that all for that all things also PILs are filed, and since it is in the betterment of the public at large, so that letter, in the form of letter, the suit is filed, but soon it gets converted into PIL because it is in the interest of whole public. Author of letter alleges violations of fundamental rights of weaker sections of Indian society who are unable to approach the court. They include people in custody, victims of police violence, forced bonded laborers, migrant and contracted laborers, child workers, rickshaw pullers, hawkers, pensioners, pavement dwellers, and slum dwellers. Courts can also act upon newspaper reports alleging fundamental rights violations of victims. So there are many issues. As I said, there are some NGOs that work for particular section of society, of regarding particular problem of society. So these are various topics for which specific NGOs may work. These are various fields wherein they may work for the society. And see, the weaker sections means who are not able to approach the court directly because of their poor financial situation or poor social status or whatsoever the reason may be, but they are not capable of approaching the court, or they are not capable of bearing the high fees of the lawyers or advocates in the courts of law. So as a representative of those weaker sections, these NGOs may work and they file the case on behalf of those weaker sections of the society. Okay, and those weaker sections include victims of police violence. मार कर गवाही ले रहे हैं, that is wrong. So that is victims of police violence. And reading this, I remember one thing. When this COVID was spreading last year April or so, at that time in jails also it was spreading at a very fast pace. So PIL was filed, the NGO, they filed a letter in the court that because COVID is spreading in the jails also, so जिन्होंने बेलेबल ऑफेंस किया था उनको हम थोड़े टाइम के लिए जेल से बाहर निकाल सकते हैं, प्रिजन में जितनी भीड़ है उसको कम कर सकते हैं ताकि ज़्यादा लोग इस वायरस को कॉन्ट्रैक्ट ना कर पाएँ. ठीक है, तो ये चीज़ें हो रही थी. इट इज़ फॉर द वेलफेयर ऑफ दोज पीपल. वो भी तो इंसान है, भले ही उन्होंने क्राइम कमिट किया है, बट इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि वो कोविड से मर जाएं. सो उनकी जान को बचाने के लिए दैट कम्स अंडर पब्लिक इन कस्टडी कैटेगरी, द फर्स्ट कैटेगरी विच इज़ गिवन ओवर हियर. सो those people also have a right to life, no matter if they have committed a crime and they are in jail right now. ठीक है, वो जेल में हैं, बट तब भी उनके पास एक राइट टू लाइफ है. उन्होंने क्राइम कमिट किया, इसका मतलब ये नहीं आप पूरे जेल में एक वायरस फैला दें और कहें कि चलो अब इससे मरो तुम सब. ठीक है, तो जेल की भीड़ को कम करने के लिए जिन्होंने, हाँ, और ये शर्त थी कि जिन्होंने बेलेबल ऑफेंस किया है या जिन्होंने जिन ऐसा क्राइम किया जिसकी पनिशमेंट कम होती है, कम प्रिस्क्राइब्ड है, तो उनको आप बाहर निकालिए. ग्रेव क्राइम जिन्होंने किया है, बहुत सीरियस क्राइम किया है, उनको बाहर मत निकालो, भीड़ कम करो बस. और कैसे भीड़ कम करो? जिन्होंने थोड़ा ऐसा क्राइम किया जिसकी पनिशमेंट कम प्रिस्क्राइब्ड है, 2 months की पनिशमेंट है, 3 months की पनिशमेंट है, तो ऐसे लोगों को आप थोड़े टाइम के लिए जेल से बाहर कर दो ताकि वो लोग वायरस की चपेट में ना आ जाए. तो ऐसा किया गया था. सो see, those people in custody cannot directly approach the court, right? That's why for their behalf the author of the letter or the NGOs or the reputed institutions or organizations, they filed the case, right? And it may happen on behalf of many. माइग्रेंट वर्कर्स का बहुत बहुत बुरी सिचुएशन थी उस समय, और ये बहुत एक अच्छा एग्जांपल हो सकता है इस चीज़ के लिए, जिस तरह से माइग्रेंट वर्कर्स उस समय अपने विलेजेस वापस जा रहे थे. व्हेन देयर वाज लॉकडाउन, एवरीबडी वाज लॉक्ड in their respective homes. The laborers, they were not having proper amount of food to eat, 2 square mile meals a day, so they walked barefoot miles and miles and reached their villages from the city areas. So that was the plight of laborers at that time. Seeing that plight, case was again filed in the Supreme Court of India. If you know little about the whereabouts of your own country, that what is happening here, see, इतनी चीज़ें, इतनी कॉमन चीज़ें पता होनी चाहिए कि हो क्या रहा है आसपास. भले ही आपको वर्ल्ड के बारे में ना पता हो, लेकिन अपनी कंट्री में, अपनी सोसाइटी में क्या हो रहा है इसकी थोड़ी नॉलेज होनी चाहिए. तो अगर लीगल पढ़ना है तो कौन से रीसेंट लैंडमार्क केसेस और बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट क्रूशियल मैटर्स पे आजकल जो केसेस फाइल हो रहे हैं, कीप एन आई ऑन देम. Okay, so that's all for today's video. DPSPs will be taken up in the next upcoming video.